I'm really excited to be here with these fabulous ladies for this campaign, Fabulas at Any Age. I'm Amina Farah of Fabulas Living, knowledge and awareness platform about the transition of perimenopause and menopause, to amplify conversations, to end menopause shame and end menopause suffering. So today we're going to have a candid conversation here about aging and menopause. Amina, fabulous at 52.
Barbara, fabulous at 45.
Chabette, fabulous at 49.
I'm Koi and I'm fabulous at 50.
I'm June Gashui and I am fabulous at 45.
Wonderful, ladies. So let's start off. What do you love about being this age?
I'd say I love the freedom, because this is the first time in your life that only you get to decide who you want to be and what you will tolerate, and you can establish your boundaries without feeling the pressure.
Good.
I like that I don't have to try anymore. I'm done trying. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I like the fact that I can just be myself. I can just relax and just, all my crazy comes out and I don't care.
Yeah, I think I like that I don't have to ask for permission. I think at some point I felt I had to ask for permission, and I don't think I feel like that anymore. I feel like I'm just getting started, so that's kind of scary because I'm tired. I'm so tired. But then in my head, there's all these things I'm yet to do, but it's also exciting. So I'm happy that I don't have to ask for permission to do magical things.
Yeah, I love that. And that resonates with me too. I feel like I'm getting started too.
Yeah.
Like this is the second half of my life and I still have so much to do. Still feeling, excited for life. More businesses to run, people to impact, and I think it's because we're also stepping into our legacy years. Maybe that's where you think about that. Like, what am I doing, that matters? How do I impact, even if it's one woman or many women or people, society? Yeah?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, impact is what I call these the golden years. And when I say the golden years, I think about the first time you can really start enjoying who you are and not apologizing. And it's probably the one time that you can actually spend some of the resources you have accumulated on yourself. So it's like the golden years. You can go and have a meal and just enjoy it without having to worry about all people, other things. You're supposed to be doing this. It's also the time that you can enjoy being whatever career suits you, that you can follow your heart. You don't have to be what your parents said, what your siblings said, what your auntie said, what your husband said, what your children said. You can just be you.
Yeah. You don't even have to be what you studied, because
know.
that was the thing. That was the thing that was like, what did you study? Why? Many things. Life is still teaching me.
Exactly.
I like
and
that.
life actually takes on a whole different meaning, and you find that space where you can just be comfortable with yourself. If you're an indoor person, then you just become that person. And if you're an outdoor person, then you're just out there and you just try all these new things. So I really like that about being this age now.
Yes.
Yeah.
50. Nice.
50 is like bang on the 50.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I know people use this expression, 50 is the new 30. I actually don't like that expression, I'll be honest, because I think this is 50 now, right?
Yeah.
Or this is 45 now, we don't need to try to be what we were when we were younger, right? Because we have this, as we are sharing this, newfound wisdom, connecting with ourselves, being really comfortable with who we are as women, not asking for permission. I like that you said that. Who did you feel like you had to ask permission from? I think both of you said that, right?
I didn't. I think you
It
said
was,
that.
yes.
I remember it was you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's going to happen.
I felt that all my life I had to ask for permission, from when I was a teenager, from when I was in my 20s, my 30s. it was always like, what will this person think, or what is this person saying? And I feel like society puts you under a lot of pressure to be so many things, particularly as a woman.
Yeah.
And you can only fulfill maybe 30% of those expectations. And then you start feeling like you're a failure when you've actually done so much. I mean, you've got to here.
Yeah.
You've survived. Now you're thriving. And so many women don't get to here, even emotionally or psychologically. They're always like, oh my God, my regrets, or this happened to me, or this happened to my child, or I should have done this at this time, or why did I do this? So this whole sort of like second guessing yourself, I think it ends at this age. Like, no more.
Right.
That's it. That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been asking myself why not a lot. Like, that's the thing that helps me decide whether I'm going to try something. And then I'm also very comfortable with failure, maybe too comfortable, but I'm very comfortable with failure because I don't like regret. I think regret will take me out faster than failure will. So I'm happy to try. If it doesn't work, I'm good to just sort of say, well, I take it off the list and move on. But that thing of looking back, like you're saying, you know, Jabet, and saying, why didn't I should have, hey man, that thing will finish me. So I'd rather try. So the only question I ask myself these days is, why would I not do this? Or I'll get seriously hurt. If I have a reason that rather an answer to the question why not, then I will most probably not do it. But in most cases I can answer, I'm going to try it, and then most likely it'll be a good experience or a bad experience, but I won't have regret. And I think that's the thing I'm really enjoying in this season.
It's about saying yes, right?
Yes.
Because we had this conversation, Bhavna, right? About saying yes to being here. You know, even you coming for this campaign.
Yeah, it's so not me. But, however, it's also just trying, you know, and like, but trying different things. But, you know, when I said I don't have to try anymore, I think it's being comfortable with what I like and what I don't like, you know, and it doesn't matter. Chibet and I were talking about this earlier, and I think, you know, when I was younger, and that's why I'm glad I am where I am now, because when I was younger, it was always, what will everyone else think? So my definition of self-worth wasn't my definition, it was other people's, you know, and I think now I just don't care, it's me, you know, and no is a full sentence, and that's okay, you know.
A look is a full sentence.
Take it or leave it.
Exactly.
This is me, I'm here, deal with me, or just, you know.
I'll move on.
Move on, yeah. So I think it's a really nice age to be at. It's liberating. You experiment more, I think, because you know life is short, and you have to really maximize on what's actually left, and you know, your relationships and your family and things like that. You really have to take those to heart, and just, you know, every day is a new day. You just take that in and you deal with it, and you face it and you smile. Deal.
Yeah, I love it. So you said we get to experiment more. So let's talk about, like, what are you doing that your mother didn't do at this age? Okay, we'll start with June.
Hi, mommy. Sure, you know, she's still praying for me, so that's good. She's not giving up hope yet. No, what am I doing that my mom probably didn't at this age? Gosh, I think my mom was like a proper, you know, businesswoman. She was a career woman as well. So I think that I definitely picked from her. I think now, in retrospect, she feels like I do maybe too many things. But I actually feel like I've reduced the number of things I do over the years. But what am I doing now that I believe maybe she didn't is trying new things, right? In this season of my life. And she was a mom, you know, much earlier than me. I think by 28, all of us were born. So that sort of already determined her life path. And so by the time she was 45, we were all sort of like, we had opinions on things, you know. So I think that the things that she could have potentially started at 45, you know, were determined by the fact that she had 3 children. But in my case, I don't have 3 children, so I can probably do more traveling. I can probably, you know, start new businesses, try new ventures, because the risk factor is not one that I'm too afraid of, if it, try it out. But with 3 children that are looking up to you and depending on you, probably that could have been not a hindrance, but just her reality at the time. I also think I'm as outgoing as she is, maybe more now. I think age does different things to different people. I find some people mature and become more reserved, others are more open. So I think for me, I'm kind of still like all over the place. And my mom was not all over the place at 45, but she was really friendly and really like a great host. And those are some of the things I think I picked from her. But definitely, I think just the ability to travel and try new things is probably what I'm doing more now than maybe my mom did at 45. Yeah.
Great. Chabet?
Okay, yeah, well, my late mom actually was a very charismatic, vibrant woman. They still talk about her in the village. They talk about the fact that she was the first commerce graduate from second generation university, which was very rare, considering where she came from.
Right.
It's like very remote village in a place called Lelaitich. Now, we used to go places with my mom and she'd outdance me. It was and I'd be like, oh God, people are watching. So she was in business very early on. I actually picked that up from her. And she was a go-getter, very ambitious. What I'm doing different from my mom is I do a lot of boxing and martial arts and kickboxing, and I do strength training, which I used to think was in the domain of men.
Yeah.
So I cycle. That's unheard of in my culture. Women cycling, actually going outside and riding a bike and going around and being seen. I travel a lot more. I'd say I don't have the kind of responsibilities she had at my age. So traveling, working out, having fun, eating out. I mean, I'm just living the life.
Nice.
I think we're fortunate, our generation, I must say. Yeah, because even when we ask this question, what are we doing differently? We just have more opportunity, right? Our mothers were more bound by responsibility as mothers, even though I think many of us had mothers who we can say were trailblazers or did things that were like firsts for their family, and I think about my mother who was born in the Soviet Union, right? And she met my father in the 60s. He was one of the few black people who came, because it was the friendship treaty where Kenyan students went to the Soviet Union to study. So my dad went to medical school there, met my mother, fell in love with her. She was stunning when she still is, but she was like, he fell in love with her, like, yes, I like me some Russian woman. And she came back, and one of the stories she tells me, when she was coming, they were like, why are you going to Africa? They're going to sell you. That was the perception then, right? So I think our mothers, yes, and I look at her, my mother came bravely 51 years ago and is never leaving Kenya, FYI. Loves it here, this is her home. But I think she was very bound by her role as a mother, and we are able to step out of that a bit more, I feel. Yeah.
I agree with that actually. So I've got 3 kids, and my mom had 3 kids, and I think the difference now is I'm not as bound by that responsibility as being a mother. I'm no lesser of a mother in my opinion. However, I can still put myself first.
Wonderful.
And not feel guilt about it. Whereas I don't think the older generations had that liberty. So
That's true.
I think that's true. So you're right, that's what it is, bound by responsibility.
I mean, we're still responsible, but we just, we actually say we matter too.
And I think that's the difference, we matter. Before it wasn't, culturally, in any culture, generations before, the women didn't really matter as much, but we're changing that, and I think it's awesome because we can change that. I can change that for my daughter.
And it's important.
And I like what Chabet said about being able to do stuff like, you're in the gym and you're doing all this stuff.
Kickboxing.
And weight training. I'm very active as well. And for me, I think it's different from what my mom did when she was about my age. She was very focused on, yes, the kids have grown and they've gone to college or high school, but she still kept the home, and she was always homebound, and just the furthest she went out was to the neighbors to say hi, welcome to the neighborhood kind of thing, and just created that homely atmosphere. I think for me, it's very different. I am out there, I am clubbing.
Yes.
Good on you.
can
I'm having
stay
drinks with my
late.
friends. I'm just, having a good time, taking the kids out, just making sure that, you're not feeling restricted and just, you have to be at home and you have to do stuff at home. I think for me, that's the difference. And we argue about it actually with my mom these days. I tell her, please find some exercise.
Yeah.
It's like, no, leave me alone.
Take her for kickboxing.
I will. I think she'd be very shocked. I
can imagine.
Some yoga. She's like, what?
What is that?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also this one thing that I notice distinctly about me is when I say no to people around their expectations or entitlement around me, they always ask why, and then I say because I put myself first in my life, which I kind of see the shock on their face, like, what do you mean? What do you mean you can't do that for me? What do you mean you can't give me that money? What do you mean you're not available? What do you mean you can't hang around and just listen to me whine all day? And I say because I put myself first. And I think and every time I say it or I think it, I think, wow, that's revolutionary.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have been able to.
That's true. That's very true.
Or even say it.
Yeah, but I think, it was this perspective that self-care is being selfish, right? I think there was that messaging, like if you claim your time and say, this is my time, like, how can you, right? It's considered selfish, but I think we realize that we really need the time for ourselves, and we really need boundaries to be able to say no, and no is a complete sentence, right?
Absolutely.
I think taking it a step further as well, like the way I look at it too, when I hear you ladies speak, is with those generations, yes, we say selfish, self-care was selfish or equated to being selfish, because the mother or the woman wasn't given that much space to be, whereas now we're given space to be, and if we're not, we take the space to be. And I think that's the difference, and I think that's tremendous, because I don't think my mom could have done what she would have wanted to, but she couldn't, because it's all these things that she was supposed to do. Whereas now, exactly, and expectations, and now we're learning to take all that back. The only one that I can have expectations of is myself. I can't have that of anyone else. And understanding that, so we've come far.
I think we were fortunate. I think my mom had a great friend in my dad, my late dad. So I think she was sort of like she calls herself the catalyst of their relationship. So she was able to find little windows. I remember her saying, I'm going for my massage, and we're like, what? So what are we going to eat? She's like, and so now when I say I'm going, like I'll close off my calendar and say I'm in a meeting, and this is me at my spa treatment day, and it's a meeting because I'm meeting with myself and having conversations. But so I'm really grateful that she was able to do that, and my dad was sort of like, what time are you coming back? Okay, she's like, the food is there, the microwave is there, the oven is there, the plates are there. So I'm grateful they had that sort of like playful friendship that when she needed that time. And then the other thing I think that's different about generations before ours is my mom's theory was, and I think a lot of moms at that time, if I've raised you, I'm not doing it 4 times. So if you have an elder sibling and the elder sibling knows that mom doesn't like this, you shouldn't wait for her to come and tell the younger sibling. Did that happen to you guys? Like, I would be told, I've raised your older sister, I've raised you. If the younger one is misbehaving, it's you I'm coming for. Because you sat here and watched her do the thing, I don't. I'm just like, So we are co-parenting. Okay, got it. I didn't get the memo before, but I get it now. So that was a very interesting, and I think that's what gave her permission and space to like go and do the things that she needed to do for
That's being
herself.
super efficient.
Yeah,
I would
very efficient.
That's
Very
smart, I would have
efficient.
to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like home management.
Yeah.
We talk about like in corporate, another thing that I think has distinctly changed for women is not being responsible for everything and not being the one that holds it all together when everybody else is having a good time or when people didn't do their work. Or you know when you're in high school and then you're all in a team and maybe there's one girl in the team and there's 3 guys and then you end up doing all the work, you do all the notes, you do all the homework, you check on everybody. So I say now, I was at a retreat the other day when everything was going wrong. And people kept on saying, let's do this. And I said, no, it's not my responsibility to fix anything. And they're like, it's all gonna go wrong. I'm like, but let it. Allow it.
Yes.
Which I think for me is a big
lesson.
a big growth point. Like, allow it to go wrong. It's not your responsibility. Walk away, Chabet, and go do exactly what you had planned to do. Don't get involved. Don't be a busybody in everything and everybody else's business.
That's true.
And I think people will come round. They'll have no choice. So they'll come round to, okay, this is how it is. So I have to go make my own cup of tea. Yes. Make your own cup of tea. We're in the
Or take
boardroom.
responsibility for your own
That's
projects.
it.
Finish your projects.
Yes.
Women are always finishing projects for other people, cheerleading for other people, all the time being in the back while somebody else shines after doing all the work. And those are all the things that we've come full circle and say, no, if I do the work, I get all the
credit.
glory.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, great. So I want to change direction a little bit in this conversation. It's great. I want to talk about midlife hormonal transition, okay? Perimenopause and menopause. I think some of you here are perimenopausal. Some might already have hit menopause. I'm postmenopausal. I say it because I went through it early, premature menopause. So I'm an exception really in terms of the age. I should be going through menopause now at 52, but I've already gone through it. So I'd like to know where you are in the transition and then how you're feeling about it. And then we can just go from there. You want to start, Javette?
I'm perimenopausal. Every time I think I'm menopausal, the red friend arrives. You know? Exactly. Just when I think I'm like, whoo, okay. We're still talking about this. We're still dealing with this, right? I love it actually. I had endometriosis for a very long time. So for me, the whole period story has been quite painful. So I'm pain-free. Right? I don't have to buy pads and things like that. I don't have a calendar where I jot down my ovulation days and all that. So I feel like, my God, this is a new life. A whole new me has been birthed. Right? I suppose there's the physical changes, which initially were quite shocking. So the only thing I don't like is the occasional insomnia. I find that I struggle to sleep, or I have to make sure that I'm in bed early so that I actually get a few hours sleep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not quite sure where I am, to be honest. I think it's there, but it's not. I still get my red friend every single month regularly. I'm like, damn. Where are you going away? Then I get these really interesting personal summons, as they call them, so funny. So you get this really hot flash that comes in the middle of the day, in the middle of, I don't know, doing what. And I usually say, it's the weather, or I'm wearing too much, or, I just make up all these excuses in my head. I'm not there yet, so that's not me. So I'm in full denial.
Thank you for being honest.
She's like, I'm in full denial. And I'm like, it's not coming, I'm not ready. I do all these gym things so that it stays away. And I'm like, when I stop being active, then I can feel my body getting sluggish. So I'm like, oh shit, tomorrow I have to go to the gym.
You're
so
chasing
for me,
it.
I'm in full denial. So yeah, I think the day it hits, I will be like, what?
Well, you have the hot flashes, right? So that is a change.
And the mood swing.
Okay, thank you for giving more.
But I find that they're so weird because I wasn't a mood swing person. I don't get those sudden mood changes, right? So then suddenly I'm so depressed. What is going on? Then I try to think who annoyed me today. What happened? Did I wake up on the wrong side of the bed? So that comes and I'm like, okay, so maybe, so I need something else to explain it away. And so, yeah, maybe in my denial, quite happy.
I hear some admission, when you say, at least there you're kind of coming to like, okay, yes, it's related to my hormonal change. Okay, we'll come back.
Yeah.
June?
So I think I'm still regular also. So I think for me it's sort of like doing this. That's what I feel like it's doing. Yeah, earlier this year I think I had what do they call it? This brain fog thing. At least that's what it felt like to me. I was like, listen, what am I talking about? I walk to the kitchen, then I look at the kitchen, and I go, what was I coming to do here? And I usually talk to myself. I've been doing that for years. So I'm like, so June, you walked here to do what? And we sit there for a couple of minutes, and then so I started to notice like that happening. I said, oh, I have not taken my omega-3. let me take it, fish oil it. No, it was because I hadn't eaten the fish taken the fish oil. So I, again, similar to Connie, I think I'm explaining some of those things. But I also remember attending the What Women Want conference. I think that was my very first session or sit down with women speaking about perimenopause and menopause, and that not everybody has the same symptoms. I think that was the first thing that was a reality for me. I didn't know that before, so I think we're all waiting for the same, for the hot flashes or the personal summers and for this to happen, and yet for everybody the journey is different. I think back to like when my mom had it, and all I remember was, oh, you're going shopping, buy me the night dresses that don't have sleeves. Then we're like, oh, okay. And we don't know what that means, or like this is a preference, but she's like, listen, it is boiling in this bed at night, and we're like, but it's cold. Oh, okay. And then slowly but surely. So it was little things like that. Then I speak to my peers now. One of my friends is, squarely in the perimenopause space, and so she and I were sharing, and she was like, she went and asked her mom, so wait, when did you go through menopause? Isn't this early? Same thing that you were saying. And the mom was like, oh, by 40 I was done. And she's like, but why didn't we talk about this?
Yes.
So I think even for us, when I say us, I mean like 45 sort of age group and my peers, we're starting to have this conversation now. And I distinctly remember one of my mom's best friends sharing about her client's daughter who went through menopause at 13. And I'm grateful that she was in our life, because she came and she said, hey, let me tell you what has happened. And we were all like, 30, what are they talking about? Because I think I was around that age. But she started talking to us about like, retrieving our eggs and maybe freezing them because we never know, it could happen. It's happening to this young girl. And it was always something so far in the back of our minds that I think it was like an awakening to sort of at least be aware. Like, don't be those people who heard it and then didn't do at least a little bit of research. So I think I'm still sort of like reading up on it and monitoring, and still in a bit of denial. I think I should be more active. I definitely need to do more, I think. But yeah, I think, again, it's another phase. I don't think I am afraid of it anymore. I think because I'm understanding what it entails a little bit more. But yeah, if it comes, there are a few prayer items I have. So at least make sure this is still possible, and this is still enjoyable, and this is still, So I have that prayer list like running as we go. I'm like, don't take this away, don't take this away. If I have to go through this, don't do this. So we're negotiating with the guy upstairs right now.
Yeah. Bhavna, do you have anything to say on this? And maybe we can also, after you answer, did your mom talk to you about it? And maybe you can tell us about your journey.
So, I perimenopausal for sure, but I had a hysterectomy a few years ago. Funnily enough, my mom did too at around 36, 37. So, I don't know, I don't think I have any symptoms, to be honest with you. However, I believe in, lots of natural, herbs and remedies and stuff. So, even if those things are going to come, the symptoms, I'm going to mitigate them from now. But yeah, I think, and I think as I've, become 45, I think what's changed is I don't anticipate anything because I don't know what it's going to present as. And like we've said, everyone presents differently. So I really don't want to sit there and think about something until it happens. And that's pretty much how I choose to look at menopause and everything, actually,
Okay.
because I don't know, right? My mom didn't seem to have a very hard time, and I think it was because she went through it early, but she had a hysterectomy as well. So, you know, it's very weird because we don't go through like, we stop menstruating, you know, but like your body still changes. But you're not as aware of it because you don't have something to, you know, to pinpoint it or
Yeah.
liken it to. But yeah, I think I'm just taking it a day at a time and just seeing where we go.
Can I ask, did you have the oophorectomy as well, or just the hysterectomy?
Just the hysterectomy.
Okay. Okay. I'm asking if they removed the ovaries
Yeah.
too. Okay.
So I still kind of go
Yeah.
through the whole process
Yeah.
of ovulation, but I don't. I mean, I only know because my body changes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
get short and moody.
So again, a little bit of admission there, right? Yes, there are
the
some
PMS
changes.
symptoms,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
like
it's true.
obvious, and we don't
Yeah.
realize like it's not just associated with us menstruating; it's because of our bodies, you know. So
Yeah.
that still happens.
There's a doctor, Dr. Shah, who says menopause is like PMS. You know, like when you the stage of when you're in your cycle, your menstruation cycle, the menses cycle, when you're hitting PMS, some of the symptoms women experience then.
The follicular phase.
Yes.
Okay.
No, the luteal phase. The luteal phase. It's like now when you're just before you bleed. She says some of the symptoms that we experience are similar to that. So for women to be able to relate, because when you're in your, you know, when you're still ovulating and you still have your period, you don't imagine that you're going to continue to feel that way. So I like the way she brings that up. It's like you're in your luteal phase, like you're having your mini PMSs, you know, and I'm like, okay, it's interesting. Anyway, so did your mother talk to you? Let's have the conversation. Did you have the conversation with your mother or somebody in your family, your grandmother, about menopause? Are you talking with friends? I think you did say you're talking with friends, but maybe from the other women we could hear a bit about that.
Okay, my mother never spoke about menopause. My mother never spoke about children. She never put any of us. I've got 3 sisters and 1 brother.
Okay.
We never even used to have those kind of discussions in our home. We'd be talking about business and becoming a computer scientist at 15 and going to do a PhD. She'd be like, why haven't you done your PhD? And my dad would be like, yeah, why haven't you done your PhD? You haven't done a PhD? I'm like, I did so much. What is this? But my mother's friends, that's a totally different story.
Okay.
They visit and say, okay, we have to talk about this one. What's going on with this one? Type of thing. So for me, I never focused on those things for a very long time until later now in my 40s, I thought, oh my God, maybe I wanted something different for my life. So no, my mother, no. Funny enough.
Yeah, no, I don't. My mother never spoke to me about it. It's only when I came back to her when I was having fertility challenges, right? And I'm like, oh, I need to know, when did you go through menopause? And she's like, yeah, early, like by my late 30s, I was done. I'm like, would have been really nice to know, like maybe when I was much younger, instead of you just saying, you should have a baby, you should have a baby, maybe to say, hey, you really should consider, you know, doing something even with your eggs, or you should have a baby now because you may not be able to. Because I think our generation, at least I found with a lot of women I know, they kind of waited till their 40s. Not everybody. And so late 30s, actually probably late 30s. So I think for me, when I turned 38, I was like, I want to have a baby now.
Like
but it
in
was
our
too
20s,
late.
in your 20s, in my 20s, I wasn't even supposed to be talking to boys. Do you know, I was
In your 20s?
No talking to boys. No. I don't like that. You might get pregnant. You know, that whole thing of like, oh, you were talking to that boy. You're not focused on your work.
And yet,
You got an A-, it's because you talk to boys. That's the conversations in our house, right? So I wish someone had said in my 20s, harvest all your eggs.
Yes.
You know?
I wish that too.
Yeah, I wish that too. But
And
it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, and actually, I remember when, and I'll bring up Jennifer Aniston because everybody knows her. She was interviewed by BBC, and she said, "I wish somebody told me to harvest my eggs. You know, I would have done it."
Yeah.
So there's like this myth of, in our generation, I think, because we're around the same age, I think she's maybe 53 or 54, where that information wasn't relayed and people didn't think about fertility. And it's an opportunity now to say, hey, we are now talking about perimenopause and menopause, but let's also make sure women are aware you know, what does fertility look like for them?
Yeah,
they should go to their
absolutely.
mothers because most likely your fertility is like your mother's. And then you make a decision. And now we have access to things like freezing your eggs. People freeze embryos, you know, there are options. Or you just decide to have a baby sooner than you thought because you don't want to take a risk if you have this in your family.
But I guess everyone just takes a lot, sorry to cut you short,
no, go
but I
ahead.
think everyone takes a lot for granted.
Yes.
You know, so like, this is how it is going to happen.
Yes.
You know, and we clump it all and expect it to happen a certain way. And in your case, for instance, it didn't happen that way.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's just taking it for granted. But
Yeah.
like, everyone does, you know, it's very, so, and I think, and that's why it's awesome that you're having these conversations, because it kind of highlights that it isn't one size fits all.
Yes.
You know, we all have different stories, and we
Yes.
all arrive at it differently, and yes, we're going to go through the same process, but how it's going to look on each of us is going to be different. And that's okay.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
I was going to say that there's an element of whether we were ready to hear certain things. You know, I've been using this expression like they couldn't hear me, so, or I couldn't hear you at the time. So the thing was said, the information was shared. Like at least in our case, I couldn't hear it. I couldn't even see that. How is this relating to me? Like I should now go and remove X, Y. But the man is coming, the husband is coming. We'll do the thing, and the babies will come.
Exactly.
You know, and so I totally agree with what you're saying, Barbara, about taking it for granted.
Yes.
Even in some cases, our mothers' journeys are different from ours, especially for homes where we are 3 girls as well. So we add my mom to the girls, so we're 4 girls. But all our journeys are different. All our hormonal situations are different. All our fertility situations are different. And so I think that's the thing that has changed. And it could be anything from what we're eating, our environment, you know, the way the generational sort of movement in terms of how our bodies react to things. Everyone's, I think, been talking a little bit about that, and what effect, you know, we still don't know what effect that has had, but we can start to see, you know. But I also think we are in a more receptive time now. So even if I like to speak to like a younger generation of women now, like 25-year-olds, and so what is your plan? And they think I'm asking about work. I'm like, forget that. Somebody else has talked to you about work. I'm like, is there a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Do you like him?
Yeah.
Do you want to get married? Because if we were having those conversations, and the irony is you were not talking about it in your 20s, you were not allowed to see boys, but our parents were pregnant and married and mothers and fathers at 20-something. So that is the time to sort of say, okay, let's just talk about it so you know you can. But if you want to focus on your career, that's fine too, so that we're talking about options as opposed to, nope, because I didn't do it like you, which was the thing that was a complete mind boggle for me. That you want your children to have something different from what you had, but in doing that, you almost erase the journey that you had by saying, oh, I had my children at 24, so you don't have your children at 24. But you could have your children at 24, still go to university, still get your master's, still get your PhD. We know that now.
Okay.
And I think our parents at the time probably didn't.
Yeah.
They said, I didn't go do my master's, but so you do yours, don't do the marriage and baby thing. But yet we now know all of these things can
Are possible.
exist
Yeah,
simultaneously.
side by side.
I think for me, with my mom, we never really had that conversation. And even if I ask her today, she kind of just, you know, she ducks it. She's like, I don't know, I just went through something. So at the time when she was going through her menopause, she was living with my sister in the UK. And so my sister saw it all and she was like horrified. And my sister was actually much younger at the time. And so the conversation I have now is with my sister, not even with my mom, about what was it like for mom, what happened, what age was it, so that I can see if there are any similarities, whether I can compare or anything like that. So we didn't really have a conversation, to be honest. And so for me, it's all about, you know, friends. Amina here has been like really championing this conversation, we ask you for tips and you know, read up and, you know, you watch all these videos and things like that. But I think we've also reached a point where we need to also bring in our male counterparts and, you know, figure out how do they support us in this process, even if it just gives them by giving them like little bits of information to read,
Yeah.
understand me, so that it's not like you're totally going crazy. So like my brother's wife, one time I think she was going through her episodes, and she was like, I hate everybody in this house. I just want to run away. And they live in the US, and it's really, really a problem, because where are you going? It's not like you're in Kenya and you can run to your mother's house and spend a couple of nights and then come back when you're like. So I think it's important that even the men in our lives understand what's going on, so that they can also deal with it. And these conversations are fantastic. Yeah. Bring the men in the
I think they should have a, how has it been for you? And make sure there's some whiskey as well.
We actually want to curate something in February or March, but I think after Valentine's Day, for partner conversation. Bring your husband, bring your partner.
Do it in January so that by Valentine's they are
Very
very very ready.
But
for the rest of the year.
This conversation matters for men, as well as women. And I also say for young people as well as people in this age, because all women are going to go through this. And for men, it's your wife, it's your partner, it's your sister, it could be your mother. In fact, Palmer, one of our videographers, said to me after the first roundtable we had, he's like, oh, I think my mother might be going through this. I never thought about this. And you see, he's learned something. So men need to know this, because then it can explain maybe some of the behavior you see changing in your mother or your sister, or even somebody you work with on your team, at work. So it's an
be more
important
compassionate.
Yes, to be more compassionate and to see what you can do to help. Fabulous at any age.
Little mama. Hey,
yeah.
Wait for your love, little mama. Hey, you should tell us.
We're watching you. See their moves, apparently. Hey, hey, hey.